What if you could improve your circumstances simply by changing your thoughts? As a Man Thinketh 1903 is a treatise on the role that thought plays in building or destroying personal fortitude and character. New Thought author James Allen argues that individual circumstances are heavily influenced, though not directly caused, by a person's mindset. The amount of suffering or happiness people experience can be directly traced to their mental state. Either the brain has been trained to dwell on hedonistic and pessimistic notions, or it has been cultivated to contain only beautiful thoughts. Since most people suffer from some combination of beneficial and maladaptive thought, any progress they could theoretically make toward their goals is stymied by their vices and negative desires. By learning how thoughts can powerfully shape lived experience, mastery can be achieved over the mind and the outcomes it can obtain. Such mental discipline will allow individuals to diminish their suffering and attain lifelong serenity. Humans have the ability to bring about personal happiness or suffering simply by changing the nature of their thoughts. A successful businessman and a failing entrepreneur both possess the same potential for greatness, since both are capable of dwelling on ideologically sound ideals. Likewise, both are capable of falling into depravity, since either could ruminate on negative beliefs. Since thought directly influences behavior, a person's character can be judged entirely by his thinking, and the disposition of his thoughts can be discerned from his actions. The true measure of whether individuals have achieved a disciplined mind is whether they experience a state of perpetual happiness or perpetual suffering. These inner conditions will often manifest in physical form. A man who is always miserable will appear older than his age. His struggles will take the form of wrinkles or premature health conditions. Someone who is able to achieve inner harmony, on the other hand, will experience contentment and peace, and retain youthful attributes even in old age. The goal of disciplined thinking is to achieve a blissful state, one in which misfortune can be weathered without complaint. While all humans possess the ability to either improve or ruin their lives through the quality of their thoughts, not every person recognizes this tremendous power. Most are like foolish homeowners who pay no attention to the condition of the foundations holding up the structure in which they live. Once someone begins to focus on the quality of his thoughts, he gains an understanding of himself as well as an understanding of how thought shapes his experiences. He can then slowly gain control over his thoughts, which will provide mastery over his actions and the ability to more easily achieve his ambitions. Whether a man's thoughts are beneficial or maladaptive can be judged by whether he lives in a state of misery, in which suffering is abundant, or a state of bliss, in which contentment and happiness are plentiful. While a positive mindset may seem to come more naturally to some, it should not be mistaken as an inherent attribute. Righteous thought is not a result of inherent personality or chance, but instead is the result of cumulative habit. Those who dwell on positive subjects will reap the fruits of those thoughts either by achieving personal or professional success or by acquiring peace of mind. Likewise, those who seem to experience perpetual bad fortune are not the victims of fate or luck, but instead of their own compulsive negative thoughts. Improving one's thoughts will not result in immediate changes to one's experiences, but will gradually lead to a more enlightened state of mind that is more in line with peak human potential. By improving inner thoughts, it's possible to achieve a state in which personal turmoil and suffering are seldom experienced. All actions are the outcomes of patterns of thought. Every action an individual takes can be traced to a pattern of thought which shares the same nature as the behavior in question. Even apparently random or spontaneous acts reflect a person's true nature. If a seemingly moral man commits murder, then he has revealed his inner character as venomous and damaged. No outside threat could have compelled him beyond maladaptive thinking. His apparent virtue before committing the crime was merely a mask. Likewise, a virtuous man will never find himself in a jail cell for a violent crime, because the nature of his thoughts would lead him away from criminal acts. Without altering one's thinking, sustained change cannot be accomplished. A healthy exercise routine will be abandoned if a mindset that abhors physical movement is maintained. Similarly, bad performance cannot be expected out of an employee who truly loves the work. Since action follows thought, the only way to improve behavior is to change the mindset underlying it. If the driving thought underlying a repeated action or habit is not in line with someone's true nature, then eventually the new habit will be abandoned altogether, leading to the erroneous belief that change was impossible to begin with. Negative thinking proliferates when positive thinking is not cultivated. The mind cannot simply remain empty of any influence. If positive thoughts and ideals are not actively sought, then negative and maladaptive thinking will be absorbed and allowed to take root instead. A man who does not seek out virtuous ideas will pick up bad ideas from movies, literature, and his daily interactions with other people. Cultivating one's thoughts can be compared to gardening, in that mastery over inner thoughts requires the routine removal of maladaptive, useless, or immoral beliefs. In addition to regular re-examination and elimination of erroneous thoughts, someone who has truly mastered the laws of thought will seek to actively plant beneficial lines of thinking into his mind. This can be accomplished by seeking out virtuous thinkers whose actions and circumstances evidence a principled life. To absorb positive thoughts, individuals can turn to respected philosophers, scholars, and other civic leaders for examples to follow. People seek out what they most fear or desire subconsciously. A person's actions will ultimately reflect his subconscious cravings, regardless of what he may profess to desire. If an unhealthy man's inner thoughts are ones of gluttony and greed, then he will likely continue to pursue sweet, rich foods even if he proclaims that he wants to change his ways. Only by examining inner longings can someone determine whether a subconsciously held desire has stymied personal ambition or led to maladaptive behaviors. As soon as inner desires are understood, they can be molded toward virtuous inclinations. Inner fears, if left to fester, can even result in physical deterioration. A hypochondriac who fears a debilitating health condition is more likely to come down with a devastating disease, because wasting energy on worrying will ensure that his body is less capable of fighting off infection and illness. Someone with a positive attitude, in contrast, will be more likely to stay resolute in the face of physical sickness or injury, because his body will be fortified by positive thinking. If physical health is a concern, then negative thinking cannot be endured because it will eventually result in the corruption of physical and mental well-being. Suffering stems from erroneous and impure thinking. Emotional and physical turmoil is indicative of impure thoughts. Someone who has achieved inner harmony will no longer experience much material or spiritual suffering. He will have trained himself to halt patterns of negative thoughts when they emerge, so those thoughts can no longer encourage negative actions, ranging from self-pity to violent crime. No living being can achieve total perfection or completely remove himself from suffering. But anyone can greatly alleviate their suffering by improving their thoughts. In some cases, a person may be tempted to believe that suffering stems from adherence to virtue or righteousness. A marginalized person, for example, may believe that his pain is the result of maltreatment by his oppressors, therefore making him a martyr who has endured undeserved pain. Until he has excised every negative impulse and fault from his mind, however, he has no justification in making such a bold claim. Only perfect beings can guarantee that their misfortune stems entirely from outside forces. Otherwise, a person must look inward for other causes. Pursuing a life goal can help build strength of character. Finding direction in life is essential to the process of obtaining lasting happiness. Without a guiding purpose, a person will inherently commit the sins of listlessness, boredom, and sloth. Ambitions provide humans with the means to improve or corrupt their patterns of thought. Without purpose, humans are unable to build strong inner selves capable of withstanding hedonistic temptations and maladaptive impulses. Once someone has settled on a life ambition, they should pursue it with near single-minded focus, making it a central theme of their daily work. Doing so will help build the mental discipline necessary to avoid distractions that might prevent them from completing their goals. Those who lack life direction should look for opportunities to complete their current tasks to the best of their ability. Accomplishing even small tasks with rigid focus will supply the confidence needed to believe that achieving greater feats is possible. This will encourage the thinker to consider greater dreams and ambitions. By learning how to concentrate fully on a set task, anyone can strengthen their mind and eventually find a greater guiding purpose. Personal circumstances can be improved by changing one's thoughts. If someone suffers an abundance of misfortune in life, it can be easy to blame the individual circumstances behind each bad experience for the resulting personal misery. However, people would not experience much misfortune if their thoughts did not in some way attract those negative results. By focusing on individual unfortunate events, rather than the mindset in force at the time those events occurred. An individual risks failing to uncover the thoughts and attitudes which may have encouraged unwanted events to occur. Although circumstances can reflect a person's inner mindset, an outside party cannot fully evaluate the quality of another person's thoughts solely by examining that person's present state. All humans are made up of positive and negative desires and thoughts. A well-off person may be plagued in some respects by personal vices. Likewise, a criminal may benefit from some virtues. However, the sum total of a person's experiences always reflects the dominant influence over their thoughts. Good thoughts coupled with positive action do not result in suffering. Bad thoughts coupled with maladaptive acts do not result in success. The only way to improve one's chances for improved circumstances is to root out harmful thoughts and thereby remove their influence over behaviors and outcomes. Envisioning a future beyond one's immediate circumstances is essential to progress. Dreaming of a future that is far better than the present is essential to bringing about positive change. Closely held desires eventually tend to manifest in reality. Dreaming up a vastly improved future increases the odds of improving one's lot. Envisioning an ideal life can also help someone further tailor his thoughts toward virtue, so that he can eradicate behaviors that are not in line with his deeper desires and eventual goals. The ideal future one envisions can only be achieved with effort, but the initial dreaming stage is necessary to compel that necessary action. The laws of thought demand that positive dreams and desires be encouraged by every possible method. The consumption of virtuous music, art, movies, and literature should be encouraged, especially when such art forms bolster the inner passion required for implementing actions to realize ambitions. Seeking out beautiful and well-made objects will attune the mind to other positive sources of inspiration, which will further ingrain good thoughts and habits. Ideally, one seeking self-improvement should regularly consume and participate in art that provides new ideas for improving one's self and community. Negative or maladaptive sources of entertainment, such as gambling or excessive drinking, should be avoided, as they could allow uninspired or vulgar ideas to take up residence in the mind. Left unaltered, those thoughts could delay or even thwart attempts at self-improvement. Mastering one's thoughts can lead to lasting inner tranquility. Once someone understands the laws of thought and realizes that personal circumstances are greatly influenced by individual thinking, he will better understand others and himself. This wisdom will allow him to move through life in a calmer, more serene manner, avoiding the emotional highs and lows that jolt an undisciplined mind. Emotional fortitude will also likely result in respect from family members and professional colleagues. Society tends to favor calm confidence in political and business leaders and looks to tranquil individuals to provide wisdom, direction, and clarity when tensions are running high. The fact that such calm, focused types are rare only increases their value, and therefore their opportunity for success. They are able to demonstrate to others that prosperity and wisdom can be obtained through focus, virtuous thought, and disciplined action.